Okay. So it's important, basically, the way you talk and the words you use.
Yeah,
And
so
this is an exercise.
we're about to switch to, for an idea to go into the computer, it goes through someone else's hands,
Yeah.
which means I'm going to have to talk a lot more. And this is just useful to get to pieces on the screen. If you double click that, you'll get bigger.
The internet is slow today, or the computer probably. Yeah, I think I need to download it first. Yeah, that's the one. Is it bad? Is it good, or do you want to?
So there's a couple pieces of vocab here that I think are useful. First, if we look at number 1 at the very top there, menu bar navigate.
Yeah.
So that thing at the very top is the menu bar.
Yeah.
I think the important part there is just the. Yep. If we look at number 3, where we have the toolbar run button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that part here with all the icons is the toolbar. And then also notice that I'm using sort of the breadcrumb approach of get to the place and then narrow down a little bit. So like with number 4, we have the toolbar, back button, and then the drop-down menu on it.
Yes.
Another word that I think is not as common is like tab well. So if we look at like number 10,
yes,
this is the outline tab and the right tab well.
Number 10 is here, yeah.
Or if we looked at like number 13, which is the left tab well and the navigation tab.
Mm-hmm.
And then main window for the part in the middle.
Yep. Page 14.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then for 12, this is line 26 and a half, which is just a very nice way of saying like I need a line under 26.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because a lot of times we're going to be talking about inserting a line between 2 lines.
Yep.
And then also there's the dock. Number 18, which actually is not in the image at the moment.
Yeah, because
it's too big. Yeah,
Skype or something.
But it is useful to just bring in that word of the dock because we will have times where we refer to. Oh, and then one other piece of vocab that we haven't really talked about is the gutter. So, and line 11 or number 11, the main Windows gutter.
Yeah. Over
there where the line numbers are, we might add debugs or quick fixes and stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those are all the different pieces. And that way, like, if I use these words, it'll be easy for you to see it, but also for everybody who's watching to follow along. So pretty simple, but just a little bit of vocab helpful.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you're going to see me do a lot in terms of language is I will try to talk in intention and then in location, and then in details.
So
now make it so that you have,
intention.
So that you have enough information, but
then location.
Intention, like what I want to happen. Details. Location, if what I want to happen isn't happening, and then the details. And you'll notice that probably the way that we talk and the words that we use will change even over this short amount of time.
So what do you mean by that?
So because it's early on in pairing, I will usually have to go to location and details in the beginning, but as we go on, I won't have to.
Yeah, because
and so I'll be talking at a higher level.
We got used to that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. All right, so let's get started. Let's add a new test.
Let's add a commit because I wrote some messages. So
yeah.
Added
comments
for strong style pairing. Right. So now as you'll see, just as a comment for our viewers, I'll be a lot more silent and I'll basically be your keyboard or your typist, right?
Yeah. And of course, if there's anything I say you don't understand, like ask questions back. So new test, you can just clone 20 or 41 through 44.
Okay.
So if you just like highlight and hit Control D, I believe.
Yeah, I always go.
And let's do 2 and 2 is 4.
So I do 2 and 2 should result in 4. Like that.
Yeah.
And the Roman numeral. Well, with 4 is a weird thing. This is a traditional number, right? But sometimes it can also be like that. That's non-traditional.
No, we're going to do the
kind
V.
of exists. So just to know, we're going to use this, right? So basically that, right? No.
That should be 2 plus 2 equals 4.
Okay.
Let's run that and see it fail.
Okay. So it
Good.
is complaining.
Let's go to the addition tab.
Yeah.
And the issue here, right, is, so let's pull that term and second term into a variable. Let's just call it total. And then let's do a total dot replace. In the line, no, on 4.
On 4.
Replace all? Is there a replace all?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try to replace all. I don't know if that's the right thing, but we'll try it. So replace 4 i's with a with an IV.
Okay.
And let's see if that works.
Great.
Nice. So yeah, commit it.
Edit first test with strong style pairing. Okay.
So I want to I just want to talk about something. So while you were doing that, right? So at the point that I saw it run, and we went to the commit, you had to type it, you had to put in the thing. But while you're doing that, I'm actually thinking, what is the next thing? Like, what is the next piece of information command I need to give you? Right.
Yeah, but then.
And so I'm ready with the next.
But so it can happen with some partners who are very new in this way that you need to tell them, now let's do a commit. Let's write this message. So then.
But even at the point that I say let's do a commit, and you're putting in the thing, I am still thinking, I'm taking advantage of that. It's a very small amount of time, right? Like that was probably 4 or 5 seconds only. Mm-hmm. But in that, I'm already thinking, like, what's the next thing that I need to queue up? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people don't realize that that's even happening, that I'm taking advantage of that time because they're busy doing the other thing. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to call it out because we're here.
So my note would be
I'm
that
always thinking, what's the next thing to do when you stop typing?
Yeah. So the navigator will use the time, or I don't know how to call it, between tests or any available time. I don't know.
I use the time where you're doing to think about what's the thing to do next.
While the driver is doing something.
Yeah.
Thing. To understand what to do next. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, what to do next. All right, so let's make a new test.
Okay. So you're saying I should do this?
And in this case,
yeah,
I'm going to try 2 plus 3.
So let's do a 2 plus 3. This is a 5. So 2 plus 3. And running this.
Equals 5. All right, that should fail.
Yeah. It should. It's a bit slow because of the video and so on. Okay.
Cool.
So it shows us
and that failed in a horrible way.
Yeah.
Which is we got the IV and then the I.
Yeah.
That's actually very helpful to see, because what I was about to do was do a replace all after this, but we actually need to do a replace all before this.
Yes.
So on line 5, let's do a total dot replace all. Actually, let's put it just online in 5. It's going to sound weird for right now, but I think it's going to be okay.
So
we're going to do total dot replace all dot replace all.
Yeah.
Yep. And then 5 I's with the VI. Sorry, just a V. Pass.
Let's see. Yeah, so when you said VI, I was thinking that should be wrong, but because we were in a strong style, I would just want to see what's going on, because typically when I work like that, I try to let the strong style pair help me out.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that's interesting in strong style is there's a lot of stupid that comes out of my brain, right? And there, between my brain and my mouth, very little of that gets filtered. But between my mouth and your ears, sometimes you will catch that and just automatically filter for me. So I might say the wrong thing, but you'll do the right thing anyways. And then there's that part between where you're doing it and I see what you do, where I get to realize that what I just said was stupid. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's all of this place where we get to filter out the stupid that just makes programming so much better.
Yeah.
Let's commit that.
Sometimes it makes sense just to to try it out, especially if you're not sure what is going on.
And that's particularly useful for me if I use strong style a lot when I go into domains I don't know or languages I don't know, where it's like I would just be useless if it wasn't for the fact that they were telling me what to do.
Yes, exactly. But you come up with the ideas. Let's
refactor.
Any coach would come up with the idea of what to do, but on how to do it, typically that the driver will do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's encapsulate that ugliness. So let's go back and the Roman numeral edition, that one line that's all kind of ugly. Yeah. Can you just take the return clause of that, and extract it as a method? And let's call it what's it called when you put stuff together when you it's not concatenate, it's like shrink. Let's call it shrink. That's the best name I have right now, and as soon as we get a better one.
Well, shrink doesn't mean put things together, but yeah.
It's reduce.
Oh, reduce, yeah. That's something.
That's a better name. Let's call reduce.
Okay.
All right, and let's run that. That should totally work.
So I'm running the test now.
Good. Oh no, that doesn't. Yeah. I looked at the previous screen.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's go back and let's add a new test. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do 5 again, but now we're going to do it the tricky way by doing 1 plus 4.
So 1 plus 4. Yeah, should be 5.
Yep.
All right. So 1 plus 4 is 5.
I expect this to fail.
Some people new to TDD would ask, why do we run this? Well, even though it's a simple problem, right? It's not quite obvious. Sometimes you might get a green test and say, wow, it's green. Yeah.
Well, it might not fail the way I'm hoping it fails.
Yeah.
So let's go to the Roman edition. And we need to expand that second term. So where you have second term on line 2, let's wrap that in a method called expand.
So
on line 3.
On line 3. So this, you'd like to extract this to a method called...
No. Just right where you have second term. So yeah, get your cursor right before second term.
Yeah. And
type expand and then parentheses.
Okay.
Yeah, create that.
Okay.
And return second term dot replace all. And this time it's going to be IV to III. We can always see some duplication creeping in here.
So IV with III.
Yeah. Well, 4 I's.
4 I's.
Yeah. I think that should work.
Yeah. Kind of works. Okay, do you want to refactor anything?
All right. Definitely should, but we should do a commit first.
Okay. I always forget the test we had. So
this was the
1 plus 4.
Yeah.
Add a test 1 plus 4 equals 5. Alright, so what shall we do here?
Okay, so the second term in the expand is just a bad variable name. Just call it term. It's really just any term. All right, and then that should still work. And then let's try the next test to break, which is we're assuming that the tricky part's in the second part.
Yeah. So do you want to add another test, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And now we're just going to reverse it. So IV plus I. 4 plus 1 is also there.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? Well, okay, yeah, let's write this. Get it working.
Let's run. What were you thinking? What did you want to do?
Actually, no. Let's not do this. Let's do something slightly different. I'm gonna take you down a weird road here. So I'm gonna ask for just a little bit of trust as we do some weird stuff. Let's delete that test.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you clone lines 64 and 66?
So just clone them.
Just right in there. And this time, we're going to do the reverse, right? So you'll have to reinitialize, or on line 68, take actual to reversed. Yeah.
So you just want to do the plus.
The plus in the first, because anything that you add, any A and B you add, should be the same as the B and A you add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if we do this,
and then
call that actual reversed.
Oh, so you want me to rename it? So basically, have 2 asserts.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 asserts. But in this particular part of the custom assert, anything you add should work both ways.
So it's like that.
I'm expecting everything to pass except for the last one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so at this point, there's a specific type of failure that I'm looking for.
So adding 1 and 4 should result in a 5. That's the one that's the only one failing. Expected 5.
And we got the IV one. Yeah. So let's go and now we have our failing test. So let's go and fix that by expanding the first term as well on line 3.
So on line 3, I'll just add here expand on this, and should I run it? Is
Let's
that enough?
see if that works.
Okay, we're green.
Cool.
Added test. Basically, we didn't add a test, but what we done is
we did add a test though. Like
yeah,
we added the inverse test.
But we basically are inverting the assertions, right?
Yeah.
So added the inverted assertion for add. Sounds weird in a way, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so that concept is a theory test or a property test, but we're just saying anytime we add, we want to go both ways.
Yes, because the addition should work both ways as a method.
So now we're gonna get to some weird parts. Let's try like adding 5, like
so going back
something
to
with
this,
a V in it. So yeah. Well, actually, I'm not entirely sure if it works past 5. So let's add like a 4 and a 4 and just see if that works.
4 and 4 should be
4 and 4 should be 8, right?
Right.
I kind of think this might work, but I don't really know. So let the computer do the work for us.
Yeah, it's easier, it's faster, and it's more reliable. Yeah, it works.
Okay, yay, good.
So that means
all right, so now I think the next thing that will break us is a 5 and a... What?
That means we're in a good path, basically.
Sorry, say again?
If we have a test that's green, and we don't need to do anything, it means we're like progressing in a good way.
We're progressing, like, that test more expands my understanding of the system than it expands the system itself.
Exactly.
But it's still good.
Yeah.
So let's do a 5 and a 2. I think this will fail.
Should be a 7, 5, 2, 7. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of failing.
Okay, good.
Actually, is IIV, so it's
failing, and it looks like it's failing on the second part. But let's actually fix this up a little bit. Can you no, stay in the test for a second. Go down to that custom assert that we wrote. Let's do a quick refactoring on that one. So we have that duplication that's sitting there. Can you pull out 67, 60, 66, 67? The first two block, yeah.
You mean this? 76,
yeah.
77, yeah.
Yeah, let's pull that out as a method. Assert single addition. Yep, and do that there too. And then on our assert equals on line 83, can we add a message to that? let's do a string format in that message.
Wait, it's the message is first, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's first.
Yeah, there you go. So do string.format.
Okay.
And then in the thing, it's going to be %s plus %s equals %s.
So percent like that.
And then pass in, you know, first plus equals. That line's a little bit ugly. Let's see it work first, and then let's extract that as the local variable.
Yeah. So why are you doing this? What do you want to see?
Say it one more time.
Why are you doing this? What do you want to accomplish with this message?
I just want a little extra detail on the failure to make sure that it's failing for the reason I think it is. Right? Okay, good. So we did v plus ii, but of course when we do that, it does both sides, and I was expecting it to be the second one that failed, not the first.
So that's always a
I just wanted
problem
that extra
with
piece
when you
of
have
detail.
custom asserts and when you have multiple asserts, because you don't know if it's the first one, the second one, the third one.
Exactly.
So you either need the message or you need to wait to know where it fails, which.
Yeah, it's important to have that granularity of it failed and it tells me exactly why.
Yeah.
And I was missing that, so I added it in. I extract that string format as a method, as a message variable though, because that's a bunch of ugly. Yeah, F message. All right, that's better.
Okay.
So now let's go fix the addition. Now we have the interesting problem that when we add stuff together, it's not enough to just shove them together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We need to start figuring out, like, grab the I or the V's first and add those, and then add the I's.
Mm-hmm.
So that part where we do the plus on line 3. Let's start by encapsulating that.
So what should I do? Do you want me to extract this?
Extract it as a method. And call it combine.
Okay.
All right. And then, oh, no, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to. I wanted the expansion to be passed into the combine.
So should I go back?
I get, or just, yeah. Actually, go forward, and we'll just manually do it since I don't know an easier way.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to pass the value of the expand?
Yeah. In fact, let's just write it here. So just in front of expand, type the word combine.
But so can we do this?
Oh, that works too.
Like to variable?
Yeah, you can actually just reassign it to term if you want.
And
the second expansion too.
And then do that. Does that look? Oh,
no, because I want both of the. Yeah.
Okay, so this is like.
Just reassign it to term.
Reassign.
Expanded first, that works too.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's do that like that for a while. So that's.
Yeah, this is good. Expanded second.
Rename those. So now you want to do.
And
this.
Then let's pull that out as a method.
And this would be a combine.
Yep. Combine. That was a lot of stuff, so let's run and see if it's still failing in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
only one failing, and yep, failing in the same way. Okay. So in combine, we need to add the v's first, and then we need to add the i's. So
here.
Yeah. So that's the best way. So first, just make a comment. Add the v's, add the i's.
Or you like that?
Okay. I have a weird way of doing this, but let's try it out and let's see if it works. So first, give me a variable that's just the result. So and 10.5, yeah, that works. Result equals an empty string.
Okay.
And then next, say result plus equals. This is interesting. V's only ever have one, but nonetheless, let's do expand first dot replace all. How's your regex?
Okay-ish, but
so what I want to say is not V. I want to replace everything that's not a V with an empty string.
Oh, I never know how to do that in Java.
Is that?
So you want to replace all that is not a V from...
Yep. From here with an empty string.
So you want to replace this with an empty string, right?
Yes.
That would be...
But how do we say not V? Is that bang V? Or tilde V? Or...
Oh, I never know the... I always get confused between JavaScript and Java about how you write these. So...
I do too.
Yeah.
Regex Java not.
Not. I don't know if it's not contain or... Yeah, let's lay it like that.
Scroll down. Answer. Oh, there's the hat online where the answer that's 76. You see where it says there's the square brackets with the hat. Anything but ABC.
So basically, they're saying that if I
square brackets, the hat thing,
this,
and then a V
should work.
All right.
And
then we need to do that also for the second one.
So the same one, but expand second.
Second.
Okay.
And then basically copy those two lines again and do it for the eyes. All right, let's run that and see what happens.
But the result isn't doing anything.
Oh, sorry, in return result. 19. I think that should work. It's ugly. It's very ugly. Let's see if it works.
We'll clearly have a lot of duplications. So we can make it nicer.
Yeah. Lots of duplications hidden there.
Yeah.
Hey, success! Yay, hooray! Let's definitely commit that.
I'll leave the comments. Okay? It's too ugly. So let's make it uglier by leaving the comments. So what did we do?
We handled V plus II. Or really, we're handling the plus V. The 2 plus 5 is really the important part there.
2 plus 5.
Yeah, equals 7.
7. Okay.
All right. So now let's refactor that. So the first thing is these are very similar but not the same. So
Yeah.
let's extract as the v as a variable, which a couple different ways we could do that. I don't think you can do that. I think we have to separate first the string so that the v. So instead of having just that one string of not v, we need 3 strings that are concatenated together with v in the
I
thing.
think Idea knows how to do that.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Did IntelliJ do that for you?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it kind of is. But it
Yeah.
does spot duplication, but it doesn't matter. I'll just do a v1 and then replace it with v and so on. And then delete this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we want to do, right? And here.
Okay. Actually, don't worry about the I quite yet.
Okay.
Can you make me an array on at line 14? Just say a string array of whatever numbers, symbols.
Okay.
Is going to equal the first one is going to be v and the next one is going to be I. And then for each through that, after 16 and a half.
Oh, after here, yeah. So for each what?
Sorry, so it's just a 4.
Yeah,
Although I think if you say for each, it will autocomplete. Try it. Yeah, control space. Yeah, control space again. Yep.
So basically.
Oh, that did not work as nicely as I was hoping it for. For each string, symbol in symbols.
Yeah, it's not.
I probably should rename 14 to symbols.
Yeah. So symbol. What the hell? Symbol.
In symbols.
This should be symbols.
And then yeah. And then.
Whatever. I don't know why there's spaces here.
You can delete line 21.
Just a minute. So delete, yeah, 21.
Delete line 20.
Yeah, okay.
And then move those 2 into the for loop.
Yeah.
21 and 20.
Not those 3. Those 2. Come on. You can do it. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
We need to change v to symbol and delete the last 2. That's a lot of stuff, so we should definitely run a. You still need to return results. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
The comments now, the 11 and 12. Those have become cruft.
Let's see if this works. Yeah, it's okay. Okay.
So that is now something I'm starting to feel good about.
I don't like this because it's not very clear, so do something like empty.
We could pull out the method itself. It's the S1 is empty. Well, the second one or the first one is more of a concern to me.
Yeah.
That S.
But yeah, I would definitely clarify both of them.
Yeah, but let's pull out the first term as a variable because that's all kinds of ugly. And then call it not symbol or anything but. Yeah.
Not symbol. Yeah, that's weird. Anything but.
Anything but. That works for me.
So replace all anything but. I don't know how you feel about naming stuff like that.
Yeah, that works for me.
So expand first, replace
That
all
works really
anything
well.
but with empty.
Yep. Cool.
Okay, let's run the test. Let's make a commit.
See that pass.
Okay, so we've been doing this for, I don't know, typically when I code, time passes by, so probably more than half an hour. Do you want to reach some conclusion?
Is this a good place to start?
Well, I think so. It could be tiring afterwards, and now I think we got through the most basic things with strong style, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So can we think about a retrospect a bit, think about what we've done?
So one thing you'll notice is it's just louder, right? Because at this point, it's impossible for one of us not to be talking.
So
if both of us are not connected, then programming stops.
So it's impossible for one of us not to be talking. And sometimes it happened that we were talking during the same time. That's also difficult when you do remote. Sometimes you have a bit of a lag. So it's like, yeah, sorry, what did you say? Yeah, go
or
on.
Sometimes it cuts out.
Yeah, sometimes it cuts out. So it's, yeah, with remote is a bit more difficult. But then you need to have the courtesy of the dialogue, basically.
Yeah. And remote is more difficult always, right? Like if we were in the same location, we would not do things remotely, right? We would be sitting next to each other. The reason we do remote isn't because we think it's the better way. It's because physical geography is a barrier to us that we are trying to work around.
Yeah. That's for sure. But yeah, we wanted to make things a bit more difficult, but also to try this out and to see how it works. Okay, what else about strong style?
I am able to program much better when I am the navigator than when I am by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I was mentioning, all that time where you're typing, I'm thinking. Really valuable to me. It allows me to stay at a higher level of thinking, a higher level of abstraction, and it allows me to think a lot clearer because I'm not thrashing between what's the high level, what's the low level, what's the high level, what's the low level. I'm able to stay in the what are the concepts that I'm dealing with that I need to I need to conquer, and so I am a much more productive programmer when I can stay at that level. What was it like being at the keyboard?
It's weird when you know what you want to do, so I always need to refrain myself, right?
Yeah.
I think there are more or less two options, two situations, okay? There's one where you know what you want to do and you need to refrain yourself, and one where you don't have any clue and you're just doing it and you learn a lot. You learn, I think, a lot more. Like when I know what to do, basically I learn things from you, what to do, some ideas. I get also help. But when you do this with a junior, with someone who doesn't know the language or something like that, it becomes more difficult or very different, right?
Well, and if you one of the things we'll do is, this is where switching roles is really useful, right? Because when we do it this way, you get to see styles that I program, and when I'm at the keyboard, I get to see styles that you program. And what I found is that we both morph, right? That we end up in a third style, which is a combination of the two.
Yeah.
even as a navigator, I get to learn. Like, it was really neat seeing that you could pull the string out as a variable. You could do that, and I really like that.
So
right?
basically,
So
you can say that always during pairing, you can always learn things, right?
you can always learn things, but there's a very neat thing that occurs where I have said something to you, and then you made it happen much quicker and easier than I thought was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that as the trigger of whenever like magic occurs, stop and ask what just happened, because like that is the trigger that like there's something good here that I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But basically, there are two learnings happening. The ones that you have when you are a navigator and you focus on the steps and on the higher level, and you learn the small things, and typically like this, how to extract things, and typically the driver would learn the other things, like learn how to progress in a more structured way, and maybe how to be more effective in this approach. So I think talking about these two layers of higher level and low level of coding, you have learnings coming from one side to the other. So that's why when you switch, it's a good thing that you learn also the opposite.
And another thing that you learn on both navigator and driver is it's okay to go down the wrong path, right? I think that's something that can be really hard for me, is when you start, when somebody's telling me to do something and I'm like, oh, I don't think this is the right path, right? There's this tendency in me to just want to stop walking instead of saying, hey, you know what, like, okay, this might be the wrong path. Let's walk it anyways.
Yeah.
And either we're just taking a longer path than maybe I know, maybe we're taking a shortcut that I don't realize, right? Or maybe we'll get to a dead end, and that's okay too. Like, we'll back out and we'll come to we'll find a different path. Like, it's okay to take the wrong path.
Mm-hmm. But that's always when you explore, right?
Yeah.
So we should definitely try that when we explore. And also the fact that we had small tests and we had this undo button with the commits giving us confidence, right?
You'll notice at one point I actually put the English in that extract fives, the extract ones.
I don't know what you
so
mean.
There's two things that are going on there. Remember when we did the combine, and I'm like, I'm not sure how to do this.
Yeah.
What's right, and we wrote the English comment of extract the V, extract the I.
Oh yeah.
So first of all, I am always, as a navigator, I'm always putting the English in my head before I go to you. Sometimes when I get the English, I feel like I don't know how to translate that. And one technique I use a lot is, if I'm not sure how to translate the English, or there's more English than I can hold in my head, and really like 3 or 4 lines is usually about my limit. Or if I think it's going to take a long time to complete that English, I'll put it down there so that I have that intention for both of us to see, and then I can start, so once I had that down, I was able to like check that, okay, well, here's how I'm going to handle the fives. Once I handled the fives, I'm like, okay, now the ones make a lot more sense, and then we were able to change that from something that was remarkably ugly to something that is, decent and has a lot of promise of expanding. So the one is like, pay attention to the English. As a navigator, like, that becomes even more important than it was before, and I always think that the English of your code is important. The readability of your code is important. But the other thing is, like, that specific technique of just writing the intent in English, even though you're going to delete it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. It structures your thing. As you saw, I also started
Yeah.
put comments on what we want to do. Well, it's also for the codecast, but sometimes I'm doing that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah. Now here I was one of my comments. I was a pair that was very easy to deal with. I think.
Yes, you really were.
You can have pairs that are really like asking why would you do that, that's stupid, or that's annoying, or be more aggressive, or no, but that's something else, I guess. That could be some other episode.
You noticed at one point when I was going down that like weird place, I asked you like just to trust me for a minute because it was weird.
Yeah.
That's something that I've developed, and I've developed through a lot of bad experiences, basically, where I've had a situation where the driver did not trust me.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to like explain what I'm going to do to like logically convince them that this is the right thing to do. And those sessions always went really bad, sometimes remarkably bad. Like years later, it still sticks out as a bad event. And what I realized is if someone doesn't trust you, it doesn't matter how much logic you use. Like, you will not convince them. You cannot convince someone to trust you through logic, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that it is actually remarkably useful is you can just ask for trust, and especially asking for a small amount of trust, like trust me for a minute, trust me for 2 minutes. That can go a long way. So the moment that I realized that like this doesn't make sense, or this might not make sense, or I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say, I will usually immediately go and say, okay, trust me for a second, and then, check back in, a minute later and say like, okay, is this making sense? Mm-hmm. Because that's a really good way of avoiding a bad pairing situation.
Yeah. So just so our viewers know, this is something that you need to learn and to teach yourself, or for others to teach you. It's not something that just comes out like that. Okay.
Well, it definitely didn't come naturally for me.
So yeah, of course you know some things, but some others you need to learn, and I think that's for everyone. Like it's some situations you couldn't even imagine that could happen when you do pairing.
And then another thing, like I noticed, like as a navigator, in both situations I was the navigator, right? I noticed that in strong style, time goes much, much faster for me, right? So that I hit that sense of flow.
Well, yeah, you're in a flow.
It's actually a lot like, and so the second part, even though I can look at the clock and I know that we spent a lot longer on the second part than the first part, it feels almost instantaneous. Like it's just, you look up and you're like, oh, time has passed.
And because of that, I think, because the navigator is in a flow, the course of the coding, of the refactoring, of whatever, the logic is a lot more clearer or nicer. Because if you want to do both and you pair just on your own, sometimes you get stuck in, I don't know what, regex or something, and then you get out of the flow. While I could look up for regex, you could still keep your flow in mind and not get distracted, and that's very important, I think.
That's super important. And it's one of the things I love about programming is that state of flow.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, I love that. And it used to be something that I got a lot less frequently before I learned about pairing. I get it like maybe once a week or once every other week. And I just love that feeling. And now I can get it almost daily.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think we discussed a lot about this after after trying it out. So.
Oh, there's one more thing. Domain knowledge increases dramatically. Mm-hmm. Right, like, so what I know about Roman numerals now is much higher than what I knew at the very beginning, and I assume that is true for you as well.
Yeah.
we both learn about the domain as we're, and this is, Woody Zuhl has a saying I really love, which is, it's in the doing of the work that you discover the work you have to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's really true.
Mm-hmm. And because we both focus and we want to understand what we need to do, and right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this applies to both, any type of pairing, either strong style or traditional or anything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to wrap it up for now. We'll see how this works out, and maybe we'll try to do something else with more difficult pairs. I can always act like I'm difficult or annoying, because sometimes I am, probably. So yeah, thank you for joining this, and for taking the time to explain more about strong style. It was
I
very
had a
nice.
great time. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun as well. So thank you so much. And yeah, until, well, next time, next episode, let's have fun coding, right? That's always always how
Happy testing.
I do that. Yeah, I end up my codecast with have fun coding. Happy testing is a very good thing as well. So yeah. See you later.
See you later.